Okay, who are you? What do you do?
Hi, I'm Stefan Prost. I'm a postdoc working in genomics and bioinformatics.
Well, you were also one of the course instructors. Can you say a little bit about what was your goal coming into this?
The goal was definitely trying to figure out a few things in the field, whether they work or not. Also, for me, a big thing is actually doing it in the field and in country. We have already heard about that it's very difficult to get samples out of the country, and so by actually seeing whether we can do it all in the field or at least within the country, that's a big step.
Awesome. And so, how did it go? You may have had some, preconceived notions coming in. Was there anything during this process that surprised you?
It worked overall much better than I expected. We had some experiments where we basically didn't know whether they work or not, and I was very skeptical at the beginning, but it seems they worked very well. There were some big challenges that I wasn't expecting, especially with the data processing and basically not having access to big servers that made quite a big of a difference and challenge for the course.
Okay, so some things worked, some things didn't. What do you think overall? Was this more for trying to figure out if these tools could be applied, or was this more for people who could, have an opportunity to learn, a little bit of both?
It was definitely a bit of both. And one thing that people definitely have learned, that even if things seem to not work, you can actually make them work somehow. And that was kind of like the nice setting here. It wasn't just a trip to see whether it works, but it also was a teaching aspect, teaching international students, teaching local students at the same time, and doing that in a beautiful nature environment.
And so why this type of environment? I mean, you can sequence DNA mostly in, labs. Why try and do it out here?
There's two reasons, mostly. On the one hand is in many parts, in the remote parts of the country here in Peru, for example, it's very difficult to get the samples out. It takes a long time to get the samples out. It takes a lot of effort to store them, all these kind of things. And if we can do it actually more locally rather than bringing it all the way to Lima, that would be is very beneficial. The other thing is also, if we can do it in a lab in the Amazon rainforest, we can do it in a lab anywhere around. So it's kind of like a good show and test in a way to see whether it can actually be applied in local, and kind of like in local communities rather than just in big cities with big labs.
So what would your assessment be at the end of this? Maybe not like a huge success or huge failure, but what in your mind it would be the future? Where would you want to go next with this?
It's kind of like a tricky question. I think overall it worked really well. There's definitely a few things that we can improve on, especially from the bioinformatics side. I think also we can keep pushing the limits, try to do different things. We want to do more disease screening, for example. We can do RNA sequencing, these kind of things that at least we haven't tested yet, whether they work. But also keep on doing it, taking it to other countries, doing it more for local students, but also bringing together both local and international students. I think that would be a big gain for the science community.